Hope you can hear me well. If anyone can please confirm. Yes, you can hear me? Awesome. Dieta is joining the stream as well, so I'll wait for him to start, but I'll start sharing my screen.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Hey, Dieta. Yeah, absolutely. How are you, man?
Very good. You can start with your screen and everything. I just entered the sweet trade and I need to update it a bit.
All good, all good. So, just so you know how we usually structure it with CryArt Dieta, I usually talk on a more higher time frame. I go
Yeah, very
over
good.
like indexes such as Total 2, for example, or USDT dominance, and give my thoughts on the macro side of the market. And then CryArt usually goes over individual setups on altcoins, usually upon request from the chat. So maybe we can do that today as well, if you agree. That
Yes, of course. You lead, and I will do
awesome,
the.
awesome.
We can do the chart request after you finish with the
Absolutely.
macro
All
part.
right. You guys can see my chart, right? You should be seeing Ethereum. Can you confirm that?
Yeah, for me it's okay. I can see it.
All right, awesome. Okay, yeah. So, pretty interesting market. I mean, what a huge day we had yesterday with that liquidation candle, so to speak, for Bitcoin at least. We had like what $500 million in long liquidations with this one. And I mean, it was quite obvious, and we were talking about this uh, in the last few days. Like 100K was a big area to flip for Bitcoin, and which led then to an impulsive move up to 104K. And what we have seen here basically throughout this move was that open interest was increasing massively on all exchanges. People were trying to chase the price here on perps, and funding was massive across the market, not only for altcoins but also Bitcoin and Ethereum. So what we had here over these days here, when the price of Bitcoin was consolidating, was basically the funding rate on altcoins increasing a lot because they basically caught up to Bitcoin's recent move, but we didn't really have a high funding rate on Bitcoin and a high open interest for Bitcoin, which then combined basically led to this flush here. I believe it was a 13% drop, depending on which exchange you look at. This is Coinbase, where it dropped all the way to 92K. I believe on Binance it dropped all the way to mid 90Ks. It did test a big area. Now, if you had limits around here, you should be in a very good position. With hopefully with some profits taken and with subs risk free. For me, a big zone remains this area here, which is basically around 100K. We struggled to flip this area last time. Now we dropped below this, and this makes it a huge area of interest for me to flip and then possibly target these highs again. As long as Bitcoin is trading below, it's a bit tricky for me to look for upside exposure unless I'm scalping aggressively. So yeah, I'm monitoring this, especially with ETF inflows closing in a few hours. We will see how much more power there's left for this level to be flipped. For Ethereum, very interesting since New York Open. I'm assuming that there's a lot of spot bidding around these levels here because we've seen an impulsive move of Ethereum right after New York Open. On a higher time frame, we've discussed this chart a few times. We've got range highs around here, which has been a big rejection zone for Ethereum since March. And this area here, the March highs, is basically the last selling point before Ethereum approaches the all-time high area. What I find interesting for Ethereum personally is this diagonal trend line, which has been broken. Especially if you look at it on a higher time frame, it's quite interesting. Broke above it, retested this area, and is now approaching the 4K area. And this to me looks exactly like Bitcoin when it broke out of the diagonal trend line I believe at the beginning of November or October. I'm not sure. Went all the way to 73K, rejected from there, came back to 66K to test this diagonal trend line, and then the rest is history. It moved all the way up to 104K. And for Ethereum, it basically looks the same for me, unless this trend line is lost. So something like this. I'm quite bullish on the macro perspective regarding Ethereum. I personally believe that the new all-time high is at play, and maybe not this year, but definitely this cycle. But as I said, this is a huge area that I'm looking at to be flipped, just because it is a psychological selling point. If you look at it on the line chart, for example, you can see that this is literally the last point before 2021 highs. So this is what I'm personally looking at for Ethereum. Let me just change the color and it gets clearer. Here we go. So to me personally, I'm an observer here. Obviously, I've been buying spot around these levels, not Ethereum but other positions. I don't need to chase anything here. I can see how this plays out, and if this level is flipped, and Ethereum approaches 2021 highs, I think that's when we will see the impulsive move on Ethereum, especially if that is backed up by more ETF inflows. And we know that ETF buyers are basically just like retail investors. They see price going up, they FOMO into these positions. So it will be really interesting to see Ethereum around these levels. I just want to discuss one more chart before we get to you, Dieta. I think this is very important, especially for people that are positioned in the secondary market, either in Ethereum or altcoins. I think Total 2 is a big level big index to look at. Also very interesting. Let me just erase the fibs. All right, we had March highs getting flipped, and then that led to an impulsive move. Now, on a higher time frame, this is a big zone for me. If we ever go back to this area in this cycle, which is not guaranteed to happen, but let's just discuss interesting levels. This is for like mass buying for me. If we get that, it's a bit difficult to believe now, as I'm more in favor of something like this. But yeah, as I said, we need to consider all levels and be prepared if we get them. But I'm more in favor of a move like this, to be honest. Like flip 2021 highs and Total 2 goes into price discovery. And this is where like the impulsive move of Ethereum and the altcoin market will happen once this goes into price discovery. Now we can pull some fibs and come up with a few targets. I believe that lead us all the way to 2.5 trillion, but obviously there's not a lot of data that we can consider here apart from fibs, so I don't want to get into these speculations just yet. We've got total market cap in price discovery already. It already flipped 2021 highs, and then you can see what it looks like when an index like this goes into price discovery. So I believe there's still some room to grow this cycle all the way to these levels here. And so just to draw some comparison between an index that has flipped its all-time high and an index that has not flipped its all-time high yet, and you can see what is possible in terms of upside potential. Now, of course, and just as a reminder to people new to this channel and to my streams, this is not an idea that I expect to play out today or tomorrow. This is a daily chart. In fact, it might still take a lot of time for this to play out, but this is what I'm looking from a macro perspective in the next few weeks and months. And yeah, as I said, entries around these levels are, for me, still risky because this is still psychological resistance. But once this is flipped, then I'll see if I can re-enter the market with some new positions around these levels if we get some form of retest at some point. Yeah, so this is basically what I'm looking at. What do you got, Dieta? Well, like what are you looking at in terms of Bitcoin, Ethereum, anything that you find interesting from your side?
Well, the Ethereum easy invalidation long was yesterday in the flash, if you were awake. I mean, I really don't have anything to say about it right now above 4K or hitting 4K. I know people want to get into a position. People were asking, even in charts ideas, about setups. For me, it's a little bit hard to get into Ethereum after the move from yesterday, but it did break. It did break out, had a bullish break of structure into the 4K. So the uptrend is still continuing. I set some alerts at 3900, down into 3850, just in case it's like the origin of the last impulse move up with a basic fib retracement, or however you want to play it. But I just entered the SUI trade a few minutes ago.
On Ethereum?
No, on SUI. SUI. How is it called? I don't know. SUI.
Yeah, this was a good level for Ethereum. Like if you were able to catch this wick, that was really really good.
Yeah.
Sui, yeah. Sui.
SUI is just forming an H1 range.
I personally bought Sui at, I believe, here $3 when we had that retest a few days ago.
That was a very very good entry. I think Michelle had, or somebody had a spot limit there somewhere. That was actually a good easy invalidation trade. Aztecs had the one under $3 that week. He had some limits, so there were limits on SUI. A lot of people were trading SUI there. That's great. Basically, it's just created a new all-time high. It's still in price discovery. Nothing out of the ordinary on it.
For me, it's a bit tricky to enter here. I'm not really the price discovery player. I don't chase the prices. Some others can be better at trading that way. I'm personally the one that looks for pullbacks to enter. As I said, I bought at $3, so I don't need to chase the price here. Earlier, I saw a 1 month POC at I believe 3.45, somewhere around these levels. And I cannot bring it up because I'm using TradingView on the application because that's where I can share the screen. But for my trading, I use it on the browser, so I don't have my usual setups here, and that's why I don't have lines or support and demand zones at all. Just a blank chart, in case you're wondering. But I saw a 1 month POC here at 3.45, which is a bit unrealistic to me now. But in case of a flush, that's hard to get filled. Yeah, in case of some form of flush in the next few weeks, maybe that could get filled. But for now, it seems a bit unrealistic. There's one SUI beta play that I'm looking at, which is Cetus, if that's how you pronounce it.
Their DEX.
Yeah, their DEX. This is interesting for me, to be honest. I'm looking for a spot position into this, potentially maybe around these levels here. And again, I don't have the POCs to understand the right levels, but I would like to get a little spot back on this, because if SUI runs this cycle and it is in price discovery and the ecosystem is growing massively, then I want to have some form of exposure to beta plays for SUI, and I think this one is really interesting. It got just recently listed on Binance, and it's also available on a few other exchanges that are retail friendly. So looking at this one for some spot exposure.
Yeah, I think Impulse was trading that, right, in the past.
Yeah, I think he's trading it constantly, but I'm not really looking to trade it. I just want to buy it back and maybe just hold for a bit if you get a nice flush on alts in the next few weeks. Because as I said, for me, it's a bit tricky to position into alts now when I have entries way lower, because everything just pumped, and I've got indexes like Total 2 or others at macro resistance levels, so I'm just being patient a bit. The funding looks a bit better now. I don't know if you looked at that over the day compared to Asia, especially on altcoins. It looks way better now, so that's good to see. Maybe you want to
Yeah.
share your screen and go over some alt setups because I'm done with the macro talk, and I think people are still interested in entries for altcoins.
Yes,
Okay.
sure.
There we go. The first one. Ada.
Let me just share. With gaming, you saw it all depends. For example, Mavia, however you want to call it, if you remember, it had a crazy
Yeah.
run up.
Yeah.
It just got delisted today from Binance. That's why it's down.
What? Really?
Yeah, it got
Wow.
delisted. Let me check the coins that
I
got
missed
delisted.
that.
It was
That's wild.
early morning.
Do you know
Let me,
why? Is there any specific reason?
I don't know why. Let's see the. It was. Where is the delisting? Somewhere.
Still on perps. Interesting. Yeah, Mavia had a huge launch. They did a huge airdrop campaign when the game launched, and that created some hype around it, pumped it all the way to $10, I believe. But the tokenomics back then they were just similar to Portal, not ideal to be investing in at these prices with all that VC backing and all that liquidity locked for early investors that was starting to be deployed into the market, I believe, during the summer. And yeah, you can see what that did to the price. Dropped all the way to sub $2. Yeah, $1 even. Wow. Yeah, gotta be a bit careful with these VC coins, right? You have to know how to play them from a spot perspective, from a macro perspective. Always
Yeah,
to let some time to improve the tokenomics because you
because
have
and you need to cut it quick.
yeah,
As in, for
exactly.
example, on Portal. Let's say on Portal.
I think
I
the
don't.
the ICO price for Portal was below 10 cents. So when this launches, you have to assume. I think it launched above $1, right? Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah,
You
something
know,
like that.
yeah, you know that people are already up like at least 10, 20x. And what that means is that whenever they get the opportunity to sell, they will do that. They will not hold their coins because they're already up massively. And that just kills the coin over time. But when the project is fundamentally strong, as in this case, this is the perfect opportunity to improve the tokenomics and to turn a coin that is not as suitable for an investment into a coin that is actually suitable for an investment. And I'm not sure about Mavia per se because it's just a single game, but this is gaming infrastructure here, and I'm quite positive about this one. So maybe we will get back to this in a few weeks, Dieta, and look at
Yeah,
some
see
higher.
how it. Let me see. On Beam. Let me just go back here.
Yeah, so Beam is
Let me.
also gaming infrastructure, but the market cap is a bit higher, so the upside potential is a bit capped compared to Portal. I believe it's at like 1 billion, 1.5 billion right now, and Portal is basically 250 million. I mean, the upside potential is obviously way bigger.
Extremely uptrending, as everyone knew. 4-hour trend is around 30. I mean, 3 cents. So anywhere earliest, if somebody wants to get in or trade it, earliest you could see is, let's say, a fib retracement from this 4-hour leg. So around 032 to 031. I would look at this daily fair value gap. It was tested yesterday in the flash, but anywhere close to maybe 0.3 would be easier on the daily. As you can see, it creates, if this will continue to push up, it will leave behind this big daily order block, which can be bid for spot from 33 to 31. So I would like to see somewhere closer, for example, if it rejects here, just to maintain this kind of order block and maintain 31. But realistically, even comparing, so Portal is, let's say Portal is somewhere around here where Bean was.
Yeah.
From the perspective of this being the range, the accumulation range during the whole summer, and then it broke out similar to how Portal is around here now. and you're looking to beat the retest of the range high breakout or the SR retest or the daily demand, and it pushed. Realistically, Bean has what? Looking at just let's not assume it goes into price discovery. It may, but buy side liquidity targets you have 37, 4, 44. So the upside from here maybe another 27, 30%, and you get to all-time high. So investing in it, as you said, it's higher market cap. Investing in it now, in a way, you're better off just putting that margin in Portal when we're talking strictly about the gaming infrastructure, because Portal at least has some chance to give you the first TP at 40% and then the other one at above 75 cents, while this is getting a little bit closer to the old high. So if I would trade this as a multi-day swing or maybe intraday, for example, to get some of these targets, and I would invest in Portal if I would need to do something with gaming from these two.
Yeah.
Portal is a maybe better bang for your buck.
Yeah, absolutely. Agree. All right. Is there anything else from the chat? Any question, any comments? Anything you want us to look at? E-Gold, INJ. INJ has been super strong.
ING before E-Gold because I hate E-Gold, man. ING has a very clear setup now that it came back into the 30s range. If you remember, DB man, I traded this in 2023 into 2024. This big range between 30 to 45.
Mm-hmm.
All of this traded so much in early 2024, the first quarter. If you remember
Yeah, absolutely. It gave a lot of things every day.
Celestia, how was that? that rotation, it was Sol TI injective, or I don't remember, the first quarter of 2024. There were massive moves here, and now it's actually reclaimed 31. So 31 is now your most important pivot because it's back into the range, and now you're playing from 31 to 43, the old range from the first quarter of 2024. So do you have a bag of injective?
Yeah. I've been buying a lot, sub $20, and I've added the injective at $15 as well. I mean, I've taken some profits, of course, after such a massive move, but I still hold a very decent bag.
Let's look at E-Gold. Injective is easy, anything close to 32 to 31. It wicks a little bit aggressively. Like it has these 15-16% moves down. So even if it has like a 15-12% move down, it's still in the 30s.
Yeah, can we look at NMT before E-Gold?
NMT.
Because B. Wilson was asking about it at the beginning of the stream. Sorry about that one.
No worries. Sorry, Mr. Wilson. Let's look at NMT. I haven't traded this at all. So it's on spot only. Which is the oldest chart with the most data? CoinX.
Should be probably Uniswap or something. Right? It was probably first on chain and then got listed on exchanges. I don't trade it personally. No.
I haven't traded it either, so I don't know. It's the first time I'm looking at it. I know about the project itself, Nova Mining. It's Netmind, right? Netmind. I think CoinX lists things first after on chain. Well, basically, I think it's hold here or it will just. This is the breakout of all of this. Getting back above 3.6 here. Holding this. You have some POCs here. You have the quarterly open at 3.4. So 3.6 to 3.4. This area should hold this little retest on lower time frames here. And you're looking at maybe $10 if you really want 6.7 to $10 as some targets. Yeah, so whenever you just want to watch something, go on the daily, because on the weekly it has some info on the weekly also, but it's not like one of these Dino coins that has 7 years of information to look at. So you go on a daily and you just look at where is the point of break that couldn't be reclaimed. So you have this week. I remember there was some FUD or something here because one of my friends kept telling me buy some NMT, and chart was around here and it was looking. I was talking to it was looking like shit. I mean, it's really really bad. I'm not buying this. If I don't see, if I can't execute on a chart, for example, I don't know where my invalidation is. I'm not going to hold something that I don't even know what it is. Now you're in the situation like with Portal where this is a very important level to hold, and your invalidation is the rolling back into the range of this level. So, Mr. Wilson, I hope this helped.
There's one question which is saying, what are your predictions for the altcoins if BTC consolidates here, 2 BTC dumps here, and 3 BTC pumps above 100K?
Up only.
I mean, sorry, what was that?
Up only. Up only.
I mean, it depends if you're asking me on a lower time frame or in a higher time frame, right? On a higher time frame, we already discussed a few charts that tell us that more upside is possible in the next few weeks and months. But playing altcoins while Bitcoin is still under 100K, which to me is a big level to flip, while Ethereum is still at 4K, which to me is also a big level, and I also discussed Total 2 and others, which to me have not reclaimed 2021 highs yet. I mean, I'm personally scalping aggressively, taking profits, but I'm not considering anything for long term, apart from Portal that I discussed. But I want a bit of a deeper flush as long as Bitcoin is trading below 100K. And Bitcoin dominance picked up some momentum today as well. Its RSI on a higher time frame is at an oversold area, so I wouldn't be surprised to see a Bitcoin dominance rising again in the near term. And if Bitcoin is around a rejection area and Bitcoin dominance is rising, to me it's just a time to be a bit patient on altcoins, as I would assume that if Bitcoin rejects from this area and drops back to, let's say, 95, 92, 90K, alts will bleed massively. Or B, if Bitcoin flips this 100K area, this will ignite new interest in Bitcoin, which could lead to even further rise in Bitcoin dominance. And I think it's at that point, alts would be lagging. So we had a few days, a couple of weeks maybe of alts catching up, but I wouldn't be surprised if Bitcoin dominance takes the lead a little bit here. And then we still have another relief in the secondary market sometime in Q1 next year. And funding is also getting a bit high on a higher time frame as well on altcoins. So if you look at CoinGlass at that heat map, it's a bunch of yellow and orange and red, and that's usually not a time where I like to invest into altcoins aggressively, especially since I'm in from lower. So yeah, looking for a cool off period for alts on a higher time frame before playing that. Yeah, if you select 1 year, for instance, Dieta, you can compare the left side of that heat map with the right side, and we're starting to look a little bit like December last year. So it's heating up a bit, which is not surprising, right? This is what happens in bull markets. But for me to play alts on a higher time frame and heavily accumulate spot, I want to see some green period at least. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't trade alts, right? Because as I said, you're getting opportunities every day, and if you just wait for a flush or a correction in altcoins, you'll miss out a lot of opportunities on daily basis.
Yeah, also the worst, looking on the yearly, the worst situation was, of course, in March, in the late stages of the first quarter in 2024, where you had the WIF hype and the meme hype and everything, and WIF went, if you're looking at it, even at 250% APR, which is extreme. Yesterday, we were like on some of the coins were at 120. So even 120 is kind of when you're looking on the 1 day, even 120 is a little like H bar is above 100 for a while. Uh, Bonk was above 100. Popcat was above 100 on the 1 week. You can see yesterday of December, yeah.
Yeah.
You're starting having even XRP, Dodge above 100. So that's where compared to, for example, 30th of November, where you had the normal, say, green, and I was negative, of course, because that's how it works. So you're comparing 2015 to 20 to 30% APR with 120 above 100 on majors. So that's the area where at least intraday I'm not saying to expect a pullback, but you're getting to the situation where it might not be a good idea to open fresh longs, or at least be careful and manage risk or undersize for that. And then on let's say on the 6 month or the yearly, to kind of see where is like the highest tolerance people paying funding for something that is extremely hype, you have these areas on with 200 plus 300, almost 250. Here it was 316 actually. Then on Pepe, of course, 200 plus. This was the first quarter. So if, for example, let's say, for example, that we have another discussion or another stream in the first quarter of 2025, and funding is in the 300s on whatever it will have hype, you would kind of want to take some profits, or at least lock in profits and put yourself in a position where if that is game over, you will not lose a lot. Basically, you will not give back all of your UPNL or stuff like that, or if a big flush comes, you'll not get caught.
Yeah.
So at least there are some numbers with funding, because people are asking, well, why is funding so important? I know you have all the streams with Rigo and you explain all of this, but imagine if you tell somebody that you need to pay 300% per year to hold an asset. You would say, man, who would do that? I mean, who would actually agree to pay 300% in interest? So it's not sustainable for people just to have big open leverage positions. That's all. You don't have the incentive. You're paying a lot of money to keep it open, and that can bleed your overall portfolio performance and so on. So on the weekly, we reset it today. Earlier this morning, I saw Bitcoin was actually neutral at 0.001 on Biden.
Yeah, alts. I mean, the funding on alts increased a lot after that flush on Bitcoin because people aggressively entered alts and as they were showing some strength. But it calmed down now a bit, which is good to see on the intraday. But one thing that I was going to say is that these indicators and these tools also help you on a higher time frame, understanding when to exit the market, right? You usually don't exit your spot positions when everything is on green in the funding, but as Dieta said, when things start getting crazy above 200 specifically, and especially towards 250, I mean, these are, in retrospective, of course, it's easier to say that was a good period to exit. your altcoin positions. But this will happen again. I mean, you will be able to look at the funding when it starts getting crazy. You will be able to look at the RSI on the daily, on the 3-day, on the weekly when it starts getting into an overbought area above 80 specifically. There are some tools and indicators that will help you understand when exactly to start exiting the market. It's important to discuss these things, I think.
Yeah, not only, even if you don't exit fully, but at least take partial profits, learn from the mistakes from the past. It will be impossible to time the top. Even in a few days you will not be able to time it, but it will make the difference between you giving back 40% of UPNL or giving back maybe 15 or 10% of the UPNL. So
I mean,
because
it
you can
should.
always go back in it if, for example,
Yeah.
it's just a flush and you have confirmation after a few days that the uptrend continues. But ignoring signs like DB says, ignoring all of those signs is just okay. It will not happen because we're talking about higher time frame signs. It will not happen in 24 hours.
Yeah.
If you have like, I don't know, bearish divergences on the weekly, it take a while to play out.
Yeah, absolutely.
It will still continue. Maybe the last impulsive move up with, I don't know, we saw 10K God candles on Bitcoin in the past, and Bitcoin wasn't even trading at these prices. So now 10K, it isn't even. Yesterday we had a 15K down candle.
Mm-hmm.
So
the thing is that there are two sides of the story when the market is going crazy, right? So you have one side, which is the technical analysis side, which will tell you funding rates are overheated, which will tell you that there's a bear diff on the weekly, on a higher time frame, on Bitcoin or on total market cap or whatever, which is quite clearly telling you that it's time to pay attention in terms of exiting the market. But on the other side, you have the other story, which is the sentiment, right? At these levels, people will tell you it's a shame to be taking profits because everything's going much higher. Ethereum is at 6K, but it will go to 12K. I don't know, Tau is at 1K, but it will go to 10K. So if you sell it here, you'll miss another 10X, right? So the sentiment couldn't be more different from what the TA is telling you. And in that times, it's just so important to blend out everything that people have to say and to trust your system or trust the system of any of the traders that you trust and believe. That could be me, Dieta, but also so many other traders in this group. I think that's very, very important because the science will be there, and these science usually don't have anything to do with sentiment, with the narrative side of things.
yes, and also try to learn from the people that have more experience with seeing these signs. As in, I cannot compare how I see, for example, things like this now compared to 2020 or 2021. Because if you haven't been through, let's say, 2 cycles to see how bad the bear market can get and how incredible the bull market can get, you don't understand where the signs of euphoria are actually starting to become impossible to impossible to ignore. Because let me give you an example. In 2023, you had one of the most bullish catalysts, the ETF on BTC. I kid you not, people were shorting that. They were shorting 30K, they were shorting 35K. Because of course, in bear markets, you are used to getting mean reversion type of trades and everything is ranging. So when on higher time frame you shift from a ranging market into a trending market, there will be a lot of time where people will try to short because they're used to playing the range for 1 year straight or 2 years straight. The sentiment back then, if I wouldn't have been in 2021, the sentiment in 2023, especially after the ETF announcement, the filing, it looked so euphoric that people were shorting because everybody's euphoric, because people are calling for 100K Bitcoin or stuff like that, because institutions will come and stuff like that. But it doesn't even compare to how euphoric things are right now. And it will not compare with how euphoric things will be if Bitcoin goes, I don't know, way higher, and altcoins will start putting like Ethereum new all-time highs. So you need to study, as in journal, even your own feelings throughout this cycle, because you will not remember how you felt in the day of the flush yesterday, maybe in 1 year, or you will not remember the signs that were told to you. Look, funding is high, funding has reached this part, we are under resistance, be careful, and stuff like that. So you need to journal also your emotional part, like what emotions, what is your mindset when you're going through the cycles, because the next cycle you will be ready to see the signs. This is what my suggestion would be, and this is what I have been doing.
Good suggestion. All right. It's been an hour. I need to head off soon. So maybe just wrap up final thoughts or answer a few more questions if you have. Guys, I think we covered so many interesting things, starting from key indexes, some investment opportunities, some suggestions in terms of exiting the market, understanding tools and key indicators. Been a pleasure, Dieta. You're from Romania, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So we're quite close. Also in the Balkans, in Kosovo. So you would
Nice,
probably
man.
be you would be considered more Eastern Europe, right? Not really the Balkans. But it's I
We're
believe
all in Balkans here.
it's not very different, right? Yeah, I was
No, it's
about to say
probably,
that.
I think 90% is the same.
Yeah, absolutely. All
But I
right.
never been to Kosovo, unfortunately. I
I've
heard
never been
it's
to
wonderful.
Romania as well, so I need to catch up on that. The most eastern part of went in Europe was Budapest, and that's it.
Yeah, Budapest is nice. I mean, it's one of the best overall capitals in Europe to visit.
Yeah, it's nice. Lovely
It's
place.
nice, and it has history, and it's relatively cheap. I mean, of course, it's a capital, so it can be expensive. They have expensive places, but
I know
it's
what you
overall
mean. Yeah,
cheap. I
compared
mean,
to like other bigger cities in Europe. Yeah.
yeah, like if you compare it to Paris or
Hmm.
with everything.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, then should we wrap it up?
Yeah, of course. So let's see, what do we have any kind of questions? How do I learn funding? You need to study. I think, I don't know if there is a funding part in the course, in the free course from education. So you need to see a bit who is talking in the education. Let me link it to you, S3, because I see that you had a lot of questions today. Somewhere inside here, somebody talked about funding rates, or you need to look at DB's and Rigo's past streams that are recorded under the recordings.
Yeah.
So
It's worth it to spend some time on those streams. I think he has a series of streams where he explains these indicators in detail.
and it's
Just
not
go
it's not
under.
as complex as people make it sound. But once
No,
you
it's just if it's. I mean, if you're willing enough to spend some time to learn these things, right? This will help you build your own system, which is basically priceless because this will get you more independent. But if you go on the recordings and the channel and just look up for Rego, I think you will find these relevant links to the streams. Yeah, past streams.
Do you mind
All
sharing
right.
your analysis on what happened to Orca? It was listed on Binance. I was watching the funding rate become more negative, close to -2%, and the pump to liquidate shorts. But it didn't happen a second time. Just curious on the way you view it. Well, it was up 100% on the day, so you cannot really. I mean, how much you had like two big pumps on Orca. Big with Tarek. I think he entered a trade. He entered a trade on on our Friday stream earlier with Mouse. So this is the listing pump. So the first 1 hour candle is the listing pump.
And you have to be
60%.
careful. You have to be careful with
you
these
have to be
listings, right?
very careful.
Usually, when you're in from before the listing, I usually completely exit my positions when this happens, because a lot of whales will do that. Use this as exit liquidity for their positions, and listings often mark the local top for coins. Even if you look at coins like Pepe and WIF, they all topped after the Coinbase listing candle. So can't expect just because of a listing an alt to just go up only. It happens in some cases, but usually it's to me a local top signal.
Yeah, so basically this had another leg up after, and he was probably talking about what happened in this range here. You had funding going more and more negative up into this candle, which was the last short squeeze. Funding going negative, it means that there is a dislocation in price between the spot market and the perp market. So spot was heavily buying. People probably were hedging their buys from lower, or they were just net shorting. So you don't really want, first of all, you don't really want to be short, the same as you don't really want to be long to pay 3% or 2% interest on every, I think Bybit now is at a 6-hour reset, or how many, I don't know, on Orca. It depends on the exchange. FTX was 4-hour reset. Bybit is, I think, on 8-hour now, or something like that. So you don't want to pay 2% every 8 hours or 2% every 6 hours, or when is the reset on the exchange that you have. So basically, when you see minus 2 or 3%, just ignore any thoughts of shorting it until it becomes back neutral. So becoming back neutral means that the spot price, I mean the perp price, has reached the spot price, or the other way around, and there is no basically there is no incentive for anybody to pay that much funding or stuff like that. So this is a very interesting thing, that you had the second impulse move up that led into 100-something% on the day. As DB said, usually you have the first impulse, and that's basically it. You form a range and then you drop under it. And if it's strong, like with what happened with WIF in the past, it will come back and maybe pull another new high. But just be careful shorting very negative funding rates.
Awesome. I need to leave now because I need to
Okay.
record my weekly market overview and send it to Cyprus before sharing it in my corner. But appreciate you for joining Dieta. It's been a pleasure. Our first.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yo, DB, you're still here? Yeah, I think DB left. Okay, guys, so thank you very much for joining. What is my sui? It's going. Thank you very much, guys, for joining. See you next week. Be careful.